Hey guys, I'm here with Stephanie from our food service team, and we just finished our College and University Foodservice Roundtable, and we're going to talk about some key takeaways from the roundtable. So thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
So we had authenticity was a big topic that was discussed during the roundtable. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So the attendees were discussing the importance of having truly authentic ethnic foods available to the students. It makes students feel close to home while they're away from home, and they were talking about the challenges of how do you make it truly authentic and not just serving something pre-made from a bag, or things that may taste authentic to us don't taste authentic to a student who is coming over from another country, either first or second generation.
So there's a little challenge there because you're dealing with context, like you mentioned. It's if I'm from a certain country, this is going to be authentic while this is not.
Right.
So you really need people who are from those areas to really know.
Right, because some of the ingredients that they may use are not available here, so they need to figure out what's a reasonable substitute for those ingredients that aren't available. And some of the things that these campuses are doing to make things more authentic is bringing in global chefs for training so they can train their staff. But the one thing I thought was really interesting is how they're using their own staff's experiences, whether they actually work in the kitchen or they're a cashier or a dishwasher, and asking those students that come from those different ethnicities for recipes from home, having them taste things and taste some of the items and say, what does this need, how does this taste to you, and getting kind of that firsthand input from someone who is from the country of origin.
Okay, and even though New York's not a country, I would be the judge on whether a New York bagel in another state is a New York bagel.
Exactly.
Or pizza or a hot dog.
Exactly. Yes.
So also the other thing that we talked about was allergens and actually how they are promoting allergen-free foods to students, and it wasn't always easy.
Right. And I think everybody knows that allergens are a big topic. There's a lot of allergies out there. There's the top 8, and when you're dealing with a campus of thousands of students, you've got a lot of those. It's something you have to take into consideration. And one thing that has been happening is that if a food station is labeled as allergen friendly or allergy free, there's kind of a stigma attached to it, and so students aren't going there because they don't want to feel excluded or different.
Yeah.
So some campuses are now labeling those stations. One of them calls it Clean Eats, and by giving it a label or calling the station something rather away from the word allergy, is actually making the station really popular.
Yeah.
And even students that don't have the allergies or dietary restrictions like eating there as well. A lot of these kind of stations have 5 to 6 ingredient entrees or recipes. Yeah. And so it was something I didn't realize there was really such a stigma around it.
And I think the term itself, Clean Eats, is a great term to use for food service because, like you said, you have the people with allergies that will use it, but then you have, especially with millennials and younger and college students, they're all into clean eating, clean labels.
Right.
So they see
want
that
food
term.
That's functional,
Yes.
that's healthy,
and a minimum amount of ingredients. So I
Right.
think that's a great way to do that.
Yeah.
So the other thing we talked about was straws.
We talked about straws a lot.
Yes, we were surprised at how in-depth the conversation of straws was.
Well, and for some of these guys, the elimination of straws is mandated by the state or by the government.
This was part of our sustainability
Right.
segment on there, but
and there has been a nationwide movement to eliminate plastic straws, but it kind of turned into a joke because we were on the topic for so long, and we said, okay, we're going to send out a list of every possible type of straw you can have other than plastic. But I mean, we talked about some campuses eliminating straws altogether, some having them behind the counter so that students have to actually ask for one. We talked about paper straws, biodegradable straws, edible straws,
I think
reusable straws.
Yeah, one comment that was interesting, one of the food service operators mentioned that they switched to paper straws. However, the students have to ask for them, and in doing that, they reduced the overall straw usage, so that even though the paper straws cost 3 times as much as plastic straws, because there was so many fewer people using them, the net was basically the same cost. So
right.
that was a good way to balance that out.
Yeah.
And then one of the other things in sustainability was composting.
Right.
But not many people were doing that, although one group was doing it very well.
And they did it on campus. So they actually knew what was happening to everything, all of the waste. And another thing that came up is a lot of these schools are being pressured by administration and higher ups to start to move to a zero waste output, which nobody really knows how that's going to happen, but they have pressures every year to reduce their waste by 10-20% until they get to zero.
Yeah.
So it's like it's a challenge right now. How do you do that? Where do you take it from?
Well, the thing I'm curious about, and this is something that is just an open question. I want to find out more about, is that I've heard this when I was in Poland last week at our Euro food session. There's a difference between what consumers, or students in this case, will talk about doing and what they actually do. So they'll talk a good game about, oh, I'm gonna eat healthy and eat all this, and then they're gonna buy pizza and chocolates. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but this one group that I spoke with in Poland, they actually measured it, and they changed their menus because the students, not students, their customers were saying, we're gonna eat vegan and clean and all this, and then sales dropped tremendously. So they had to redo their menus to kind of balance it out, and have some for them and the clean eating people, and then some for the ones who like to indulge.
Right, and I hear that from people in the restaurant industry all the time.
Okay.
They'll put a healthy section on their menu, because that's what customers say they want. Yet they go in and just flip past that page and still order,
good stuff.
The burger and fries with cheese on top or whatever.
Yep.
They still, so.
Well, great. Thanks for the information, and we have much more to come from this session.